Outer Realm with Michelle, Desrochers and Amelia Pisano. Airing live on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM in New Orleans.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Wednesday night segment of the Outer Realm. And like you heard in the intro, we are broadcasting here on International Public Radio on United Public Radio Network 105.3 FM from the beautiful city of New Orleans. And we are fully sponsored tonight and every night by the amazing folks over at Folgers Coffee. So big thank you to Folgers. We love you so much. And of course, we'd like to thank our new sponsor, Justin Snicker, a.k.a. Dr. Snick, the Sonic Surgeon.
I can't whistle or I would.
Who is an award-winning composer of Halloween, horror, sci-fi, and darkware electronic music. And it is available on Bandcamp, Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, most streaming platforms. So thank you for your generous contribution to our show. All our sponsors make our show better. We love you. Thank you. Now, tonight, we welcome Micah T. Dank to the show. And he's going to be discussing astrotheology in the Bible. And I have no doubt it's going to be as interesting as it sounds. I love this stuff. So, put your seatbelts on. Now, with that being said, in order to participate into tonight's show, you're going to see we are on various platforms, of course. Head on over to UFO Paranormal Radio on, I don't know why it says that twice, Joe. But anyway, that's on YouTube. And that is the only one you're going to be able to get us to interact with you. At least if you tag Amelia, you can get a pretty immediate response. We're also on International Public Radio on YouTube. We are on iCar. We are on Facebook and Facebook UFO Paranormal and United Paranormal. We are on Canada's Most Haunted / Michelle Desrochers. News on the flip side, Joe Montaldo, and of course the Outer Realm. So please head on over there and we will see your chats, and we will do our very best to address them as we go along. So, bam, here we are. Hello. Did I get everything in?
Hello. I think so.
Okay.
I have a list too.
This is good.
God.
I know.
It's a deep breath. Basically, just search the Outer Realm, and you'll be able to find us anywhere, really, which is awesome. But hello, Dolly. Hello, everyone in chat.
Oh,
we'll give you a minute to come
Bradley, we've got Dolly, we've got Pauline, we've got Michelle. Oh my God, look at this. Gang's all here. Getting there.
It's getting in time. It's October.
I know. I was waiting for the guests. So anyway, I've been waiting and looking forward to the show. Like seriously, it's just been a ridiculous day. Thank you, Brad.
Hi, Brad.
Share it up on his page. That's excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi,
Billy Rose. You betcha it's your two redheads again. Right here. So, I'm feeling a little cantankerous. I had to deal with a cell phone company today.
Hi, Janie.
I've had 5 hours of my life in the last 2 days that I can never get back.
Again?
Oh yeah. That's
great. I'm not going to mention the company, but it's unusual to be that tied up with them because they're really good, actually.
they have their moments. I've not been disappointed
obviously
with them up until recently.
Hi, Wayne. Yeah.
Yes. Can we say shit show? I know.
Oh,
that's the way it goes.
Oh, I hope everything worked out, though.
It did.
Yeah.
Good. Ultimately, I suppose it's for my own protection. Hey, April. Ultimately, I suppose for my own protection because, I did the official address change and then ordered the phone. It's like, well, if you order the phone right after an address change, you go to the fraud squad. I'm like, oh, you knew?
What?
Did you look and see where my last iPhone went? Like a year ago, you fool.
Wow.
Oh, we're really sorry. Let us gift you with all this stuff. All right.
Yeah, but that's the part I love the most about that company is when they are wrong, which they are often,
yes,
they are
fantastic.
fantastic.
Unbelievable.
They are fantastic with their customer service, and it's unbelievable.
We can go with that.
What lengths they'll go to keep you. So I'll take the 5 hours on the phone. I'm saying that because you went through it, because I have to get a new phone soon, and I'm waiting for yours to arrive.
Well, you walk off to that self, because that's going to be a freaking adventure. That's all I'm going to say.
Because I'm just saying, like, at least I know that, it'll be in stock by then because you got yours. So I can order.
I'm still waiting on that one. Jury's out on when it's actually coming in, but
it's a mess right now.
We do have our guest waiting, so maybe we can get you to do his bio intro.
An incredible bio, and it's going to be an amazing night tonight.
It is. Absolutely.
Bear with me because all my glasses, if you're in Ontario, Canada, you can't get an eye appointment to save your life right now. So bear with me.
No.
A New York City native with a desire to be a writer from a young age, Micah, and I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. You cannot guess. I can see you just there.
No, you just remember it's all her, man. It's all her. Miss Italian. This is how you say it. Okay.
Yeah, I'm pronouncing it like an Italian would.
Right.
Majored in English, then earning his bachelor degree in language, literature, and criticism. After moving to Boston for a new job, Micah became interested in esoteric sciences, including the astrology and astrotheology prevalent through his book series. Very big word for bubbles. Exploring astrology and hidden codes in the Bible. Please help us welcome, for the first time, author of Into the Rabbit Hole and Into the Veil. Please tell me I'm saying it right, Micah T. Dank.
Micah. Okay, we have to know. Did we say it right?
I am so sorry. No, he said Micah. Okay.
See, I would have had it right.
Background. I automatically read everything as Italian because I spoke Italian before I spoke English. So please forgive me for that. I do that to everyone, including myself. But so what's your nationality that your name came from? Where is that from?
Biblical. It's from the Bible.
Oh, okay.
Beautiful.
So it's a very old name.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at it, just like read it like a pure 100% blooded Italian. I-Z.
Yes, you did. And not everything has that.
It's just because of the way my brain works. I'm so sorry, but I love the name Micah. Welcome.
Well, welcome, to the Outer Realm. We've been really looking forward to this. I know we have a bit of a wait. We do tend to have a bit of a waiting list, but here you are. And we're really glad that you're here to join us. So what I usually like to do is start off with humble beginnings, so to speak, but with respect to what brought you into this field, because we get an idea from your bio as to, your enthusiasm and wanting to become a writer, but why all of this? Why? Because it's fascinating.
In 2013, I'm from Long Island, and in 2013, I moved to Boston for a new job with someone who I'm no longer with, and we got an apartment, and the iPad had just come out. So she would be watching TV, and I'd be in the room on the iPad going down rabbit holes, and I came across astrotheology. It just really blew my mind. It just really blew my mind, and I studied it. It really spoke to me. It really made sense of like the Bible and everything. So I studied it for maybe like a year or so, and then I started decoding it myself and putting my own spin on it, and with the information that I had learned. And I started doing my own work. And then basically what ended up happening was I decided to write a book series about it. Now I was debating whether or not to write a fiction series or a nonfiction series. And I feel like a fiction series, you can really reach a larger audience. So that's what I've basically been doing. And I've been doing that for about a year and a half now. I have a 6-book deal. The last book is actually coming out in a week or so. And that's basically what I've been doing.
Wow. That sounds fascinating.
Boston's my favorite city ever, by the way.
Is it really?
Oh my God, I love Boston. Just the history. It's just so rich. What kind of vibes did you get the first time when you
that
first
was weird because
started?
I'm used to like the big city, Manhattan, And,
Yes.
everything's like avenues and streets. Everything is properly numbered. The avenues are numbered and named, and you kind of figure out where everything is. But in Boston, it makes no sense. Like, you'll make a left in the middle of the city, and it'll turn into like a dead end in the middle of the like, there's no.
No, seriously.
It's an adventure.
No, seriously.
adventure.
He's so right, because people say, oh, I've been to Manhattan, I've been to Boston, I've been to Boston several times, but they'll say to me, oh, Manhattan has the worst drivers. I'm from Toronto. And I started laughing. I said, you don't know what bad driving is until you have to drive a rental car through the city of Boston. And I let it go, you drive down through Chelsea, and I will tell you, I had a person stop in front of me and my girlfriend where there would do a girls trip there, and stop to go get a Starbucks at a green light in the middle on an uphill, and you don't look surprised. So
No.
I'm just sitting there going, what?
That's the funny part. Is going, yeah, and
Oh
what's the
yeah, and
problem?
it's like the land of live free or die, right? So yeah, it's. But I love the city and I love the people. I think it's a very welcoming city, and it's so historical and rich with so many, the diversity in the city is just incredible. I really enjoyed it. Are you still in Boston?
No, I'm back in Long Island.
Back in Long Island? I'm not going to make the obvious. Have you ever seen the media? I'm not going to say that.
Oh my gosh. So you put together a PowerPoint presentation. I'm extremely curious about this because I've sort of delved into a little bit of the research of, the Bible and codes and how everything connects. Everything is not what it seems, symbolism and things like that. So would you like to get started on that? I can have our producer roll that and we can go.
Yeah, we can do that. Sure. Absolutely.
Oh, fantastic. It's exciting.
Well,
Joe.
the reason I put together a PowerPoint was because the stuff that I'm going to get into, you learn it better if you see it too.
Right.
If I just read it off to you, you might get lost, but it's easier to see it and really take it in. So.
Oh, absolutely. I completely agree. So I'm just going to see, Joe, if you can hear us, can we power? There it is. Look at that.
Yeah, he's still there.
I love it. Okay. So here we go as he mans the fort from behind. So you direct us any way you want to go. So if we can go to, I guess, this is astrotheology in the Bible. Can you scroll up a little bit, Joe, so we can read the whole title? Just get a little bit. Oh,
no, go back up. Go back up one.
Go back up one. Go back up one. Okay, here we go. Yeah, that's where we were. Okay. All right. So,
so basically, this is astrotheology. And are either of you two familiar with this, or is this all new to you?
No, like I said, I've dabbled a little bit into, the codes in the Bible, how it connects to astrology. I'm aware of. So you just do what you need to do. Yeah. We have a lot of people in chat also who are watching who there's a couple who have delved into this. Absolutely.
So this is astrotheology in the Bible, and under the words astrotheology in the Bible, I have a picture of the zodiac, and this is in its proper location. Capricorn's at the bottom, Aries is on the left. This is how the zodiac wheel is supposed to be. And what astrotheology basically is, you have the Greeks and the Romans, they had their own gods and their mythologies. Right. This is the mythology of the Bible. This is what this is. And this is the hidden codes. Now, the Bible, to me, is an encoded astrology book. And I'll get into why and all that stuff down the road.
Okay.
But if you go to the next slide. Perfect. The Lascaux Caves. It goes back 40,000 years. So the Lascaux Caves are some caves that are in Lascaux, France. That's why they're called the Lascaux Caves. And what they are these caves that people went into, and they went deep into it and they went to the back walls of it. And then go on to the next slide. What they found was things like this on the wall. And on the top left, you see the bull. On the right, you see the many faces of the lion. On the bottom, you see the horse. Yes. In astrology, the bull is Taurus, the lion is Leo, and the horse is Sagittarius. It's just missing the guy with the bow and the arrow on it. Right. And what they did was they carbon dated the wall, and it came to about 40,000 years plus or minus 5,000 years. Wow. And what they then did is they brought in an astronomer with a computer, because we have the capabilities to do this now with technology, and they rewound the sky back 40,000 years. And what they did was they printed out the stars as they were 40,000 years, and they superimposed it onto this wall, and they found that the constellations were exactly where they were supposed to be. So we've actually known about astrology for 40,000 years.
Wow.
that we know of. This is as far back as I've been able to trace it. Now, if you go to the next slide, these are some questions in the Bible that you can ask that don't really make sense. How Jesus was able to heal the blind, how he walked on water, how he turned water into wine, why he had 12 disciples, why he was betrayed with a kiss by Judas, why he was dead for 3 days, why is his birthday on December 25th. All this is astrology. And I'm going to get into that and I'm going to explain it. See, the basis between astrology is that whereas they say Jesus is the Son, S-O-N of God, okay, in reality, he's the S-U-N in the sky.
Right.
And he's going through the 12 signs of the zodiac throughout the year. And there's mythology behind that. So if you go to the next slide, Genesis 1:14 says, "Let lights appear in the sky to separate the day from the night. Let them be signs to mark the seasons, days, and years." And that's basically what the Bible is. Okay, it's an ancient farmer's almanac. And the reason it was that, and it was encoded this way, was because the ancients, they needed to know things. They needed to know when to plow. They needed to know when to plant. They needed to know when to harvest. They needed to know when winter was coming. They didn't have a watch, a smartphone, a calendar, a computer to tell them what day and time it was. They didn't have any of that. They had like a sundial, so they had to look at the stars and really get to understand it. And as far as it goes, the sun, it tells the day, the hour of the day. The moon tells the day of the month, and the zodiac tells the month of the year. It's a perfect calendar, and we had to understand that, and it was created for us. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start going into the 12 signs, which I'm sure you guys are mildly familiar with astrology.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to go into the 12 signs. So if you go into the first sign, which is Aquarius, that I talk about, sign, it's represented by the man with the water pitcher. So this is the guy on the right. It's a man holding a water pitcher, pouring it out. Okay. Now, anytime you hear the word son of man, baptism, why? Because this is how you baptize someone. It's a man holding a water pitcher that pours the water out onto the baby's forehead. Water pitcher, fountain, stream, river, lake, pond, things of that nature. It's water related. So if you go to the next sign, that's Pisces. That's the sign of the two fish in the water. So whenever you hear words like Leviathan, fish, water, you're talking about Pisces. If you go into the next slide, this is Aries, and Aries is the ram. And in Aries, you have March 21st, which is the spring equinox. It's a 12-hour day and a 12-hour night. It's also the Passover, or the passing over of the sun over the equator back on its way to its height in the summer solstice. Now, in Christianity, the passing over is changed and called the resurrection of God's son. So it's two separate meanings, but it means the same exact thing. It's basically the sun coming back to life. The year actually starts in Aries, the spring. Okay. The Jewish people are the people of Aries. Okay. The Egyptians are the people of Taurus. The Jewish people are the people of Aries. The Christians are the people of Pisces. We are now the people of Aquarius. Okay. We've been in Aquarius since December 21st, 2012, when the Mayan calendar ran out. Okay.
Right.
Basically, whenever you hear ram, lamb, shepherd, ram's horn, Jewish people, they're talking about Aries. You have to understand, Aries is the ram, okay? And during the high holidays, the Jewish people blow the ram's horn to the sky, and it's Aries worship. That's what they're doing. So the next sign is Taurus that I talk about, which is the bull. When you look at the sky and you see Taurus during the season where it's supposed to be, you know that you need to put the plow on the bull so that you can plant the seeds so you can harvest in Virgo and Libra, which I'll get to. So whenever you hear bull, ox, calf, or cow, because a cow's a female bull, they're talking about Taurus. Now, we have equipment that does this, that plows it now, but the ancients used to have to rely on the bull to plow. So the next sign is Gemini, which is this two twins. It's Castor and Pollux Troy, whose sister was Helen of Troy. It's the story of Achilles. So whenever you hear twins or brothers, they're talking about Gemini. Now the next sign is Cancer, and Cancer is the sideways moving creature, the crab. The crab moves it shuffles like this. Okay, whereas we don't do that. We walk straight, we walk diagonally, we walk in circles. We don't shuffle side to side unless it's like during a sports drill or something. That's not really what we do. The reason Cancer is the crab is because it has June 21st in it. Okay, June 21st is the summer solstice. Watch what I'm doing here. The sun starts on December 25th, and it rises a degree on its axis. The next day, it rises an additional degree. The days get longer, the nights get shorter. It continues to rise a degree on its axis every single day until it hits June 21st. That's the summer solstice. And then like the crab, it walks sideways for 3 days. It stays at that height. Then on June 25th, it drops a degree. And then it continues to drop a degree every single day until it hits December 21st. December 21st is the day of death. Okay. Whenever they're talking about a death in the Bible, they're talking about December 21st. That's when the sun dies because it's the winter solstice. It's the longest night of the year. The ancients, the sun wouldn't rise above the horizon. So the ancients used to say God's son was dead. And then just like it walks sideways for 3 days up there, it walks sideways for 3 days down here. That's where you get God's son was dead for 3 days. Okay. And then what happens is on December 25th, it comes back to life. It's the resurrection. He's born again. This light of the world, God's only begotten son, S-U-N, comes back to life.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And that's why all the gods, the ancient gods, you have like Tammuz, you have Horus, Jesus, they're all December 25th. This is why. It's because the sun comes back to life. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, in the ancient Egyptian zodiac, the crab, it wasn't the crab, it was a beetle. It was the scarab. It was the scarab, right. So anytime you hear crab or beetle, they're talking about Cancer. And the next sign is Leo. And Leo is the king. The lion is the king of the jungle. Okay. The ruling planet of Leo is actually the sun. So when they're talking about the kingdom of heaven on earth, they're talking about the sun and its ruling planet. I mean, its ruling home, which is Leo. So whenever you hear lion, lioness, or cub, they're talking about Leo. Then the next sign is Virgo, and it's the lady with the wheat stalk. Okay, so remember before I said you plant in Taurus with the bull? Right. You plant in Taurus with the bull, and then what happens is during Virgo, you see the virgin with the wheat stalk. All the young virgins, all the young women would go out to the fields, and they'd collect all the wheat in order to make the bread for the year because it finally harvested. Mm-hmm. So whenever you hear virgin, wheat, grain, seed, barley, corn, things of grainy nature of that stuff, that's all Virgo. Now, Libra, okay, next slide. Libra, okay, is the justice. It's the scales. I'm a Libra. It's balance. It's the just one. And the reason it's justice is because it judges God's sun as it passes over the fall equinox. So you remember in Aries, it pass over the equinox and it's celebrated. Mm-hmm. Well, here it's passing over the other way and it's being sentenced to cold, into winter, and to death. So it's being mourned. Okay. So anytime you hear, because it's the justice, the scales, the judge, it's lawly things. Whenever you hear, law, judge, justice, judgment, tax, divorce, law things. Okay. They're talking about Libra. Libra is also wine season. So when you plant for the grapes in Taurus, you press the wine here too. Libra is also olive oil season. Okay. You're Italian, right?
Yeah, I was just thinking. My dad passed away last year in November. Yeah, and he used to follow all of this to everything from. I bet you he didn't. Wine to his olives.
I bet you he didn't ferment them. He didn't ferment the grapes when there was a full moon out either.
Nope. And you couldn't possibly give birth until 9 full moons passed. He would put you on it right to the end, and he was always right. He was always right.
This is the ancient science. So whenever you hear all those lawly things, tax, marriage, divorce, things that have to do with the law, they're talking about Libra. Whenever you're talking about wine, vineyard, wine press, things of that nature, you're talking about Libra. Whenever you're talking about olives, okay, you're talking about Libra. Then the next sign is Scorpio, and Scorpio is known as the betrayer. And the reason that Scorpio is known as the betrayer is because the ancients know that when a scorpion would bite you, okay, and you flick it off, it looked like a pair of lips had kissed you. Okay, so that was the betrayal because it's full of poison. It was a kiss full of poison. It's also where the mafia gets their kiss of death from. Okay, that's where the mafia gets. Yeah. That's where the mafia gets their kiss of death from. Yeah. That's where it's from. And it's also why Jesus the Son was betrayed by Judas with a kiss. Judas is the betrayer. He is Scorpio. So the sun is judged in Libra and betrayed in Scorpio. And then finally, the next sign is Sagittarius. It's the man with the bow and the arrow. And this is where the bow and the arrow shoot the sun and inflict further punishment on the sun. This is where the sun dies. And I've already explained to you the day of death is in Sagittarius. It's December 21st. Whenever they're talking about the death of someone in the Bible, which I'm going to get into, they're talking about that. Okay, so basically, anytime you hear horse, bow and arrow, spear, horseman, that's what you're basically talking about. And then the last sign is Capricorn, which is the goat. And the reason Capricorn is the goat is because if you remember the zodiac, as I showed you at the beginning, Capricorn was at the bottom. If you imagine the sun walking alongside the zodiac, climbing a degree a day, as it does every single year, it starts to climb in Capricorn, December 25th. Okay. And just like the goat, have you ever seen a mountain goat climb on a ledge that's like a foot, climb up the mountain? It's the same thing. The sun basically does that. So those are the 12 signs. Okay. Now, there are biblical names that are given to Jesus by the church. Okay. These are his nicknames. These are his names. And if you go to the next slide, I'll go walk through it with you. When the sun is in Capricorn, the goat, his name is the scapegoat of Israel. When the sun is the man sign in Aquarius, he's called the Son of Man. When the sun is in Pisces, the two fish, he's called the fisherman of men. And it's also why he feeds the masses with two fish. When the sun is in Aries, the ram, he's known as the Lamb of God or the Good Shepherd. When the sun is in Leo, he's known as the Lion of Judah. The lady holding the stalk of wheat, Virgo, he's born of a virgin and he's called the bread of life. All the gods are always born of a virgin, and that's why it goes back to Virgo. He's betrayed in Scorpio. Libra is the scales of justice. He's known as the just one. He's betrayed in Scorpio. He dies in Sagittarius, and it's also why he's worshipped on the Sun day. See, the Jewish people worship on the Saturday, which goes back to the Saturn day because it goes back to Saturnalia worship.
Saturn, yeah.
Okay. Yep. That's why you wear wedding rings. You wear wedding rings because you had to make a promise in front of your god Saturn. Saturn was the old sun. Okay. You wear earrings, right? You wear earrings because it used to be a woman's thing, but women were told to listen to their god, so they would get their ears pierced. Okay. So that's where that comes from.
Wow.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I had no idea. Okay.
So basically, if we go to the next slide, these are the picture on the left is the picture of Jesus. I ripped it from the internet. Okay. You could find any picture. You're going to always find the same thing. The sun's behind his head. His fingers are like this. The heart is always outside the body with the crown of thorns around it. You ever see a picture of Jesus outside? No one ever wonders, why is the heart outside the body? Okay. The sun is behind Jesus because he represents the sun. Anytime you see a picture of Jesus in a painting, even the sun is behind him. Sometimes there's a Celtic cross behind it too. Okay. But the sun is always there. The two fingers up like this is an ancient Kemetic peace sign. And Kemetic comes from Kem, which is Egypt. Okay. This is the original peace sign. This John Lennon peace sign, this is the British victory war sign. Okay. The fingers are separate. It's not peaceful. Okay, so that's been co-opted and changed in our time. This is not actually wishing people peace. This is also a protection. As you know, if you're Italian, this is the protection from the Malocchio. Right?
Well, you know a lot about Italians. And you just taught me something. Now I understand why these Italian women, like my mom's generation, were so quick to pierce their daughters' ears before baptism. Now I understand it. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. Oh, you're going to learn a lot. I promise you.
I am learning a lot. And I'm Pisces, which is hilarious because of the feeding. And I love to feed people and cook for people. So you're killing me here. But anyway.
So the face of Jesus right here, this is a standard picture of Jesus. Understand that his face was taken from a guy named Caesar Borgia, who was the bastard son of Pope Alexander VI. And you're nodding your head like you know this.
Because I know a lot about the Borgias because of my mother's side of the family. That's a whole other show.
Right. Well, the Borgias
were a
whole
other show. Yeah.
So basically, Rodrigo Borgia, who was Pope Alexander VI, okay, he had a son. Okay. Now, popes used to have children. They were always out of wedlock because they weren't allowed to get married. So they were all bastards. But what happened was he was a pope in the mid 1500s. And you know what else happened in the mid 1500s? The printing press came out. Okay, so they were able to mass distribute this picture of him everywhere. Decided that his face would be the picture of Jesus. It wasn't like the Muslims. They're not allowed to draw Muhammad. It has nothing to do with that. Okay, there was just no physical depiction of Jesus before this time. Now, the crown of thorns wrapped around the heart outside. The heart is always on the outside, represents the sun's rays. Okay, Jesus had the crown of thorns on his head. He's the sun. Those are the sun's rays. Because when you would look at it, they would come out spiky like this. Right. Okay. Now the heart represents the human toroidal field. Are you two familiar with that? That's what it is.
Because of my mother.
For those who aren't, it's an electromagnetic chemical gradient that goes outside of your body like this. It envelops you 6 feet.
Right.
Okay. That's why during this pandemic, the elites are trying to keep you 6 feet apart so that you can't connect with someone. Okay. That's where it comes from. And what they basically do is it's shaped like an apple. It looks like an apple. And if anybody's ever walked up behind you and you've known that they're there, it's literally just because they broke your toroidal field. You know, you're not psychic. It has nothing to do with that. It's a living, breathing thing that can be measured. Some people call it an aura. It has different names.
Mm-hmm.
So if we go to the next slide, on the left, you'll see a picture of Jesus, and on the right, you'll see a picture of Caesar Borgia. You see it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There it is. Okay. Now, before we go to the next slide, we're going to start decoding stuff. Now, you remember the keywords I've given you, and I'm going to walk you through it in case you forget some of the keywords. Okay. But have you heard of the phrase pride comes before the fall?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Can one of you two define it for your listeners?
I've heard of the phrase. Didn't say I recalled it.
No, I don't recall it. I've heard it.
Yeah, you hear it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, basically, the idea. Think about it. Pride comes before the fall.
Before they fall. Yeah.
Exactly.
Ego.
If you're too boastful, if you're too prideful, right, and then you'll fall.
Right.
You know what a group of lions is called?
A pride.
Exactly. Go to the next slide. A group of lions is called a pride. Pride is the lion. Lion is Leo. Leo's in July and August. That comes before the fall.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So you can go to the next slide. This one comes from the book of Micah, which is my namesake. In Micah 5:2, he says, "But you, Bethlehem Ephratah, though you are small among the clans of Judah, out of you will come for me one who will be ruler over Israel, whose origins are from ancient times." However, in Hebrew, Bethlehem is a combination of two words. It's not one word. It's not a town. Bet means house, and lechem means bread. So it's the house of bread. Well, there on the left is Virgo, virgin with the wheat stalk. Okay? And that's the house of bread. Each zodiac sign is called a house, an eon. In the Bible, it says, "In my Father's kingdom, there are many mansions." It's been called a mansion. That's what it is. So when they're saying that the Savior will come from Bethlehem, what they're saying in ancient Hebrew is the Savior will come from a virgin. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Now, if you look at the picture of the Virgo, on the left is the glyph. That's the Virgo glyph. It's an M with a Jesus fish attached to it. Okay. It's an M because all the ancient gods' mothers, the virgin mothers, started with an M. You had Mother Mary. You had Mary Magdalene. You had his sister Mary. You had Isis Mary, okay, who is the mother of Horus. Okay. All the ancients started with an M, so that's why that's there. So if you go to the next one, wait a sec. Before you go to the next one, let me explain to you that I've already given you the codes, the cipher to decode this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read you a passage. I've already highlighted the words, but I want you to count with me so I could show you how many times these codes are in the Bible. Okay? So go to the next slide. This is Deuteronomy 32. He gave them honey from the cliffs and olive oil from the rocky ground. He gave his people butter from the herd and milk from the flock. He gave them lambs and goats. They had the best rams from Bashan and the finest wheat. They drank the best wine made from the juice of red grapes. But Jeshurun became fat and kicked like a bull. You see how many signs are just in that one passage? Okay. There's two that I didn't give you yet. The one is honey. He gave them honey from the cliffs. In the sign Cancer, there's a group of stars called the Beehive Cluster. It's an asterism. You know how the Pleiades are 7 stars? They're called the Seven Sisters.
The Seven Sisters. Yeah.
It's the same thing. There's a Beehive Cluster in Cancer. So that's where the honey comes from. And the butter and the milk are milk-based. That comes from the Milky Way galaxy that the ancients knew about. Okay? That center is in Sagittarius. So when they're talking about Cancer to Sagittarius, those 5 signs, that's your land of milk and honey. It's not actually a place on earth. That's what the ancients are talking about when they say the land of milk and honey.
Wow.
Milky Way.
Okay? So you can go to the next one too. The Mount of Olives. Okay? Now pay attention to the zodiac wheel because I put it here for a reason so I could show you how we could start decoding this. Jesus led his disciples to the Mount of Olives after his last Passover so he could teach them a few more things. Pray, then wait for Judas to betray him. While walking to the Mount of Olives, he gave the parable of the true vine. So Passover takes place in Aries. So if you look, find Aries on the left, right? Now, the most important things you have to understand is in astrology, 3 most important signs are its two neighboring signs and its opposing sign. Okay, that's where everything has to deal with, and that's how the Bible is encoded. It's always encoded with the cross sign or the neighboring sign. So Passover is in Aries, so you're in Aries, where he walks to the Mount of Olives. Well, I mentioned to you that olives are Libra, so that's the opposing sign. You walk over to Libra. While in Libra, the next sign over is Scorpio, the betrayer. They're waiting for Judas to betray him. Okay, now while still in Libra, he gave the parable of the true vine, or vineyard, or wine press, or whatever you want to call it, and that's Libra, which is the wine. So you see how this kind of passage or this thing, how this is encoded, how this works, right?
Wow.
Does it make sense? I feel like I'm just talking too much.
No. It absolutely does. Yeah. Keep talking.
You've got my attention.
Mm-hmm. No,
Okay.
absolutely.
So go to the next one. Let's go to the New Testament. Revelation 4:7. The first living creature was like a lion. The second was like an ox. The third had a face like a man. The fourth was like a flying eagle. Go to the next slide. The first living creature was like a lion. That's Leo. The second was like an ox. That's Taurus. The third had a face like a man. That's Aquarius. The fourth was like a flying eagle. In astrology, the scorpion is the belly-crawling creature. It's the lowest form of life on earth, much like God commanded the snake to crawl on his belly after the deception. It's known as the lowest form of life on earth. However, its evolved form in astrology is the eagle, and the eagle is the highest flying form of life on earth. Okay, so it evolves into that. So you have Leo, Taurus, Aquarius, and Scorpio. Those are the four fixed signs of the zodiac that they're talking about. You have things called mutable signs, you have cardinal signs, and you have fixed signs. The reason they're called fixed is because they're fixed in the season. Okay, Leo is the dead of summer. Taurus is the dead of spring. Aquarius is the dead of winter. And the eagle / Scorpio, that's the dead of fall. So it goes even further than that. If you go to the next slide. Lion, Leo, man, Aquarius, those are opposing signs. Ox, Taurus, eagle, Scorpio, those are opposing signs. If you trace them in the zodiac wheel, it makes an X. So you think that was done? What is more realistic, that there's a four-headed animal in the sky, or that this is talking about celestial metaphors? Yeah.
Absolutely. No,
so if you go to the next slide, Revelation 12. This is the woman with the dragon. I'm not sure if either of you have heard this one yet. A great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and a crown of 12 stars on her head. She was pregnant and cried out in pain as she was about to give birth. Then another sign appeared in heaven, an enormous red dragon with 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns on its heads. Its tail swept a third of the stars out of the sky and flung them to earth. You can go to the next slide.
Yeah. Interesting. Go ahead, Joe. Thank you.
A woman
you have
clothed
a big
with
fan. You have a big fan in the chat room. Mandy Oben, Micah Dank is awesome. Love all of his books.
Okay,
Had to
there we
put it out
go.
there for you.
Yeah. We have a lot of people in chat listening. Yeah.
I love it. A woman, we'll get to my books. A woman clothed with the sun is the sun clothed in Virgo. It's a metaphor, okay? If the sun is in Virgo, the moon will be at her feet. This is easy to explain. There's 12 signs of the zodiac. There's 24 hours a day and a clock. Okay, so the sun spends 2 hours a day in each sign. It's just simple math. If the sun is in Virgo, that's between 4 and 6 p.m. So the sun is still out, technically. If the sun is out, the moon is at her feet, right? Because then when the moon comes up, the sun goes at her feet. It's just a metaphor. Another sign appeared in heaven, an enormous dragon. Its tail swept a third of the stars out of the sky and flung them to earth. The constellation on the left is Draco, the dragon. Its tail goes from Aries to Sagittarius, which is 4/12 of the signs, or 1/3 of the stars out of the sky. Okay, so that's all they're trying to tell you. These are just celestial metaphors.
Yeah, the Draco system. That makes so much sense.
Now, if you go to the next slide, I've given examples of astrotheology in the Old Testament as well as the New Testament. I've been accused of cherry-picking verses from the Bible to prove a point. Let's take a much longer passage and see if we could decode it as well. Are either of you two familiar with the book of Job?
We're familiar with it.
I don't remember any of this. I went to Catholic school. That's about as my extent of when I read the Bible last with high school.
So, Michelle, do you remember who Job was?
I am not overly familiar.
So Job was a pious man, and basically what happened is the devil got jealous and told God. Well, basically Job had everything. He had animals, he had land, he had a family, Satan told God that if you were to take everything away from him, then
I know the story. Yeah.
If you take everything away from him, he'll curse you. He never does, but he does cry out to God. God responds to him. What I'm going to read you now is God's response, and we're going to decode it in real time, okay? The first sentence is what God says. The second is what it actually means. So go to the next slide. Job 38:32. He says, can you lead forth the Mazzaroth? Now, the Mazzaroth literally means the zodiac. So right away, he asks him if you know your zodiac. Mazzaroth over time becomes the Mazalot, which survives in Judaism today as Mazel Tov, which is good luck or good fortune from the stars. So what's the Lord's challenge to Job? He says, can you bind the chains of the Pleiades? Can you loosen Orion's belt? Okay, those are obvious star metaphors. Then he says, can you bring forth the constellation in their seasons or lead out the bear with its cubs? The constellations are the zodiac above. The bear and its cubs are Ursa Major, the Great Bear, and Ursa Minor, part of the Big Dipper. If you know your stars, this is going to make a lot of sense. Who can tip over the water jars of heaven? Well, the water jar, that's Aquarius. That's the man with the water pitcher. Do you hunt the prey for the lioness and satisfy the hunger of the lions? That's Leo. So go to the next slide. Who provides food for the raven? That's the constellation Corvus, which means raven and borders on Virgo. Do you watch where the doe bears her fawn? Riga, meaning deer, is located in Orion. Who let the wild donkey go free? That's Acellus Borealis, which means donkey, and is located in Cancer. Will the wild ox consent to serve you? That's Taurus. The wings of the ostrich flap joyfully. That's Lambda Achille or Al-Thaliman, which means two ostriches in Arabic. Do you give the horse its strength? It laughs at fear, afraid of nothing. It does not shy away from the sword. The quiver rattles against its side along with the flashing spear and lance. That's Sagittarius with the bow and the arrow. Does the eagle soar at your command and build its nest on high? Aquila is the Latin name for eagle and is a constellation a few degrees above the celestial equator. I can't see the rest of it because it's cut off, but the rest of it says it talks about Leviathan.
There we go, I think. Bring that up. Nope, wrong one.
Go back.
Yep. Okay.
It's fine. Then he says, can you pull in Leviathan with a fish hook?
Right.
Okay. Leviathan is the fish god that I've mentioned earlier in Pisces.
There it is. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Back up.
So,
yep.
Okay. Go to the next slide.
Okay.
Answer to the questions at the beginning. How Jesus was able to heal the blind. Well, if he's the living flesh, the actual Son, S-O-N of God, the blind man came up to him. He touched him in his eyes, and then suddenly the man can see. However, the sun does the same thing too. Right now, the sun is gone. You can't see anything, but when the sun comes up in the morning and touches your eyes, the blind man suddenly has sight again. How he walked on water. Have you ever seen a sunset on a lake before? The sun literally walks on the water. How he turned water into wine. So are either of you too familiar with why God has always been considered a man and earth has always been considered a woman?
No, but I'm dying to hear that one.
It has to do with God's sacred fluid, the rain. Okay. The Hebrew word is shemen. We get the word semen from it. It's the sacred fluid. So what happens is God's sacred fluid pours down on earth and impregnates Mother Earth. And from her belly, trees, fruits, food, vegetation grows. Okay. That's why she's considered that. So you have Taurus, which is when you plant with the bull. April showers bring May flowers. That's Taurus. And then it rains and it rains and it rains on the seeds. And then what happens is the grapes grow and then you pick them in Libra and you crush them into wine. That's how you turn water into wine. It's a process.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm just so, I don't even have words for everything I just learned right now. I could imagine how often you get picked on for all of this, though, even though I see it the way you're seeing it. And yes, Thomas Rivers, I was just thinking that Mother Earth, how a lot of people refer to Mother Earth. You really do have to understand so many other religions and faiths to be able to get all of this information and cipher those codes, don't you think?
Yeah, you do.
It requires you have so much knowledge about Jerusalem and Muslim and, to put that all together. If you're just
it all
going
ties
based
together,
on one
though.
faith,
Yeah.
it doesn't, I know, but when you're like Roman Catholic, all you know is Roman Catholic, right?
Right. Well, thank you. So why
This is amazing and mind-blowing, Zach.
Yeah, that's from Zach, man. I'm at a loss for words too.
Yeah,
this is amazing and mind-blowing. There we go.
I'm really enjoying this.
So there's a lot of good comments coming in that we'll go through after.
Good. So why he had 12 disciples. Now I told you that Judas was Scorpio, right? Which makes sense because he's the betrayer. Scorpion is the betrayer, right?
Right.
Okay, I'm going to give you one more example. I'm not going to go through all 12 disciples, okay? But are you familiar with Simon Peter?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, my name is Micah. Sometimes people call me Mike. Your name, Michelle. Maybe people call you Mish. I don't know. Right? Those are nicknames for it. But why would Simon be given the name Peter?
Yeah.
That's not a nickname. That doesn't make any sense.
Right.
Unless you know astrology. Now, do you know what Simon Peter's or Simon's job was? Do you remember?
Aside from being an apostle,
Yeah.
fisherman. Yeah.
He was a fisherman. There you go.
Yeah.
He was a fisherman. Okay.
Yeah.
What sign is the fish?
Pisces.
Pisces.
Okay. Do you know what the ruling planet of Pisces is?
The ruling planet? No.
The ruling
Isn't
planet
Venus?
of
I always
Pisces.
thought it was Venus, no?
No, Venus is Libra.
Libra.
And I believe
Libra, my daughter. Yes.
So the ruling planet of Pisces is Jupiter or Jew Peter.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Right.
So that's where that comes from. So
Okay.
why he was betrayed with a kiss by Judas, we went over that. Why he was dead for 3 days, we went over that.
Mhm.
Why is his birthday on December 25th? We went over that. I'm telling you, this is all astrology. That's all this is.
Right.
Okay. Now, if you go to the next slide,
Mm-hmm.
doesn't stop there. It's not just random passages in the Bible that can be decoded this way. We're going to go through the entire book of Matthew to show how deep this runs. Okay, so you can go to the first slide. I've put the zodiac wheel and I've circled the areas you're supposed to notice. This is why I did the PowerPoint, because it's helpful for you to follow along.
Okay.
Matthew 3:2.
Very
Repent of your sins and turn to God, for the kingdom of heaven is near. Each gospel begins at one of the 4 major points of the zodiac and ends at one of them as well, too. The 2 solstices and the 2 equinox, when connected, form a cross. This is known as the cross of God's sun. The kingdom of heaven is Leo, whose ruling planet is the sun. So the closest 4 major points, the solstices and the equinox, would be June 21st in Cancer that I've circled right now. That's where this one, that's when this one starts. So if you go to the next one, this is the firmament. Okay, you see how I'm showing the lines between the signs?
Right.
The lines between the signs are known as cusps. They're known as borders. They're known as handover dates. They have different names. But this is actually the firmament. The firmament is not a flat dome on a flat earth with a dome on it. It's not a dome over earth. That's not what the firmament is. It's the handover dates from days to day. It keeps everything in order. There's a saying in the Bible that says the firmament shows God's handiwork. Okay? Now the next passage, Matthew 3:4. John's clothes were woven from coarse camel hair, and he wore a leather belt around his waist. For food, he ate locusts and wild honey. It's a little weird. If we take the most famous drawing of a man, Leonardo da Vinci's Vitruvian Man, and superimpose it onto the zodiac, we can make sense of this. So let's go to the next one. Cancer being the head is why he eats wild honey. In Cancer, there's a star cluster called the beehive cluster. Bees produce honey. His head's in Cancer. Make sense?
Yes.
Now, why locusts? Leviticus 11. What's clean and unclean to eat? All flying insects that walk on all fours are to be regarded as unclean by you. There are, however, some flying insects that walk on all fours that you may eat. Those who have jointed legs for hopping on the ground. Of those, you may eat any kind of locust. See? So they used to eat locusts back in the day. They weren't just a plague. So now if you go to the next slide, a little lower down on the body is the clothes made out of camel hair. That's Gemini that I've circled. Or Camelopardalis, which is a star in Gemini. So that's the camel, Camelopardalis. So now you have the head and the upper body so far. So now we know what he eats. We know why he's wearing that. Now we're up to the belt. So if you go to the next slide, moving a little lower on the belt, you get to his midsection, which is where you would wear a belt. Taurus represents the bull and the female is a cow, which is where you would get the leather. That's where the cow comes in. Regarding the belt, Orion's belt sits between Taurus and Gemini. So next would be the baptism. Now, we were at the beginning of Leo. How are we going to get from Leo to a water sign to signify the baptism? You would go across the zodiac. Cross signs, as they are known, are the signs opposite location. For example, Aries and Libra are cross signs. This is very important. I can't stress enough. A sign's 2 most important signs are its neighboring sign and its cross sign, and you're going to see how that plays out. So if you go to the next slide, here we see how it makes a leap from one firmament to the other. The man with the water pitcher in Aquarius is personified as John the Baptist with the water. It's important to note, too, that John the Baptist and Jesus are always exactly 6 months apart. When you think about the fact that Jesus is born on December 25th and rises a degree a day, then that must mean that John the Baptist is born on June 24th and decreases a degree a day. This is why in John 3:30, John says, he must increase, but I must decrease. And it's also why St. John's Day is exactly 6 months to the day of the birthday of Jesus. So the next story is the temptation of Jesus. So we're going back to the Cancer Leo firmament that we started out on. That's July 24th. He's tempted in the desert with the devil for 40 days. This is really simple. Just count 40 days. Count 40 days from July 24th takes you to September 2nd. September 2nd is the dead of Virgo. Okay? Now, Virgo is the woman with the wheat stalk, right? So what's the very next passage? You could put the next slide on. Matthew 4:3, if you are the Son of God, tell these stones to become loaves of bread. Here we see mention of the bread, which tells you that the sun is in Virgo. The next passage, Matthew 5:17 and 22, I did not come to abolish the law, and if you are even angry with someone, you are subject to judgment. This takes place in the firmament of Virgo Libra. When you're at the firmament, it can be used to talk about either side. This could be used to talk about the bread in Virgo, or it could be used to talk about what it's usually talking about, or what it is talking about now, which is law and judgment, which is Libra, the scales of the law, who judges the sun before its descent into fall and winter. Matthew 7:9-10. If your children ask for a loaf of bread, do you give them a stone instead? Once again, this being the firmament between Virgo and Libra, it switches back to Virgo. You can go to the next slide. Matthew 7:15 and 16. Beware of false prophets who come disguised as harmless sheep. And can you pick grapes from the thorn bushes? The sheep are the ram in Aries, and the grapes are in Libra. Once again, these are opposing signs. Once again, moving along, Matthew 13. Later that same day, Jesus left the house and sat beside the lake. The story now moves from Libra to the barrier between Aquarius and Pisces, as he is right beside the... Does that make sense? Like the two water signs, if he's at the firmament, he's kind of between both, so he's beside the lake. You see how that's a metaphor that works?
Mm-hmm.
These are all deeply encoded metaphors that you have to understand. Okay, now Aquarius and Pisces, he's right beside the lake. Its cross sign is Leo Virgo. As it's across from Virgo, the wheat stalk, the grains, is it ironic that the next parables from Jesus are the wheat in the weeds, the mustard seed, and the yeast? Moving right along, next is the fishing net parable. So now we go back across from Leo Virgo to Aquarius Pisces in order to connect with the fish in Pisces. So you can go to the next slide. Then Gemini is the sign of the two men, technically twins. However, there's just a short mention of brothers in the next passage. He's just the carpenter's son, and we know Mary, his mother, and his brother, James, Joseph, Simon, and Judas. This ends at the firmament of Gemini Cancer. How do we know this? Now, look at the Gemini Cancer border. Okay? Find its cross sign for me and tell me what its cross sign is.
What? I'm sorry? The ends of the... where the cross signs for Gemini Cancer?
Yeah, right there, the firmament of Gemini Cancer. What's its cross sign?
I would say
Too
Gemini
small
is...
for me.
Yeah. Sagittarius.
Sagittarius and
Capricorn.
Okay. Now, between that is, what day is that? I've mentioned it to you guys before. It's an important day.
Sunday? I don't know.
I feel like
I just read it as we go along.
It's December 21st.
Right. The 21st.
Do you remember what December 21st signifies?
That's the death.
The death.
That's the death. Okay. What's the very next passage? Go to the next slide.
So there's a test at the end.
Here is the death of John the Baptist. Do you see how this all follows? Do you see how this is a story that's made from the stars?
Right.
As mentioned previously, death comes at the end of Sagittarius. So let's take a sentence which sounds like it could be in the Bible that I created, but isn't. If I say to you, the rulers were divided by war and love, it split the land in half. You could read that as a literal translation. However, if you go to the next slide.
Next. Thank you.
The ruling planet of Aries is Mars, who is the god of war. The ruling planet of Venus, as Libra, is Venus, who is the goddess of love. There is your war and love. Right. If you connect it, it literally splits the zodiac or the land in half. Okay, that's how these are that's how this Bible is metaphors. So if you go to the next slide, Matthew 14, 17, and 32, but we only have 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. Well, the bread, Virgo, and the fish, Pisces, are opposing signs. Also, Pisces is the 2 fish, which is why Jesus fed the masses with the 2 fish. So if you go to the next slide, This is the cross of God's son that I mentioned before. We were just in Virgo, and now next is Libra, which is law, wine, and olives, remember? What stories do we get now from Jesus? The story of the temple tax, the unforgiving debtor, divorce and marriage, and the parable of the vineyard worker. It all lines up perfectly. As you can see how this is plainly encoded. So if you go to the next slide, after Libra is Scorpio. This is the betrayer. This is where Judas betrays Jesus with the kiss. And next is Sagittarius, the day of death. If you go to the next slide, this is the death of Jesus. And that's the book of Matthew. Do you see how this all works?
Yeah.
I need to get your book. I need more time with this. Because Thomas Rivers says he's on Facebook. Thank you. The mind cannot manage the deluge of great information by rapid fire. Wow. And Thomas is a writer. So that's just.
Here's a question from Dolly. Ask if he knows who is speaking to humanity.
Sorry, I just lost my mic here.
It's okay.
Who is speaking to humanity? Yeah.
Who is speaking to humanity? I don't know. I have no idea. I will say this though, is that this is the most important science. Okay, and I'll explain it to all of you. The reason this is the most important science is because if we had a cataclysmic event, if like World War III happened and it was a nuclear, and we ended up, women were pregnant in the caves and men go out hunting again, that kind of shit. I don't know. Can I curse? I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
That you can say, just no F-bombs.
Yeah. For the FM.
So
We're on FM. We're on FM. They won't be able to get that beeping fast enough.
Okay. So if they basically went back to caveman times, okay, finding God or believing in Jesus as a literal person and understanding miracles is the last thing we would need to do. We would need to know which mushrooms and plants we can touch and eat without dying. We would need to develop all this information, medicine. Mm-hmm. We would need to know how to care. We would need to know how to hunt. We would need to know when to plant, Taurus. We would need to know when to harvest, right? If you didn't plant, if you saw the bull and you didn't realize it was the bull and you didn't plant, you're not eating in Virgo and Libra. You're not storing food for the winter, and then you're going to starve to death. Like they make a big joke about it in Game of Thrones that winter is coming, but that's how it used to be. When winter would come, everything would shut down. It's not modern day society right now where we have heat and all this kind of stuff. It doesn't work like that.
Go back to the time of the pagans.
So what this is the most ancient information that's encoded in here. What stars look like what has what properties, what constellations is across from the other one. You need to know your signs. God says, do you know your Mazzaroth? That's what it is. This is a book written by men that you can read on a surface level one way and take certain things out of it. But when you get deeper and you understand the astrology, there you go, Dave. Before the religion, there was always astrology. I told you it goes back 40,000 years. It's the earliest thing. And it's important because you're in Toronto, and Michelle, I have no idea where you are.
Not far.
So you're both in Canada.
Yes.
Yeah, we live like 40 minutes away from each other.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So you two can go out in the middle of the night and you look at the sky and you maybe just see a little bit of stars. There was no light pollution. There was no.
I grew up north, so I used to see the stars. I used to see everything up there.
Okay, exactly. So that's what I'm saying is that you have all this light and industrial pollution right now. You can't see anything.
No.
But back in the day, you used to be able to see it. You used to really be able to track it because that was it. There was no calendars. You take for granted the calendar. You probably never will again. Mm-hmm. You take for granted that you can look and say, oh, it's October 6th. It's 10 o'clock at night. The sun's going to be down. It's going to be a little chilly. Mm-hmm. And that's basically it. You could know that. But the ancients didn't know that. Right. We have weather. We know when a storm is going to come. They didn't know. Mm-hmm. They had to make a farmer's almanac. That's what this is.
Right.
So now if you continue.
Sorry.
Where does Gemini fit in the Bible?
Asking for a friend. Yeah. Okay.
It's the twins. It's the twins. There's a story in the Bible where Jesus rides into town on twin donkeys.
Right. There we go.
There's plenty of stories of twins, brothers, for example. That's basically where it fits in. He's known as the twin. He's known as the twin of Thomas.
Right.
He's known. All right. So
there you go, Zach.
So let me just keep going because this is
go
just
ahead.
some random esoteric knowledge
Yep.
at this point. So if we go to the next slide, Moses goes up to get the 10 commandments, and when he comes down, he sees them worshiping a golden calf.
Mm-hmm.
The sun is the gold, and the calf is the bull in Taurus. So let me pose this question to you guys. So you guys know what matzah is, right?
What? Sorry.
Yeah.
What matzah is, right?
Isn't it a grain? Isn't it corn? Well, in Spanish and Italian, it's corn.
Food.
No,
right?
not maize.
Food.
Matzah.
Yeah, we call it matzah where I'm from.
Oh.
I'm watching Joe. Sorry.
Yeah, so I was just seeing the chat go uphill. Yeah, sorry.
All right. So it's just unleavened bread. It's what the Jews eat during
Unleavened bread.
Passover.
Yeah.
Right.
My mother would make it during like Passover, though, even though it wasn't something we did. But that, you know, I mean, it's not part of our religion, but it was because we didn't have yeast or they didn't have yeast.
Right. Well, it's not that they didn't have it. It's that they were leaving Egypt so fast that they couldn't wait for the bread to rise.
For the Bible, yes. No, I'm referring to my mom. They grew up during the time of World War II. So.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. So basically, yeah. So that's basically it. So what's more likely? You know, they're fleeing Egypt. They're wandering in the desert for 40 years. Moses goes up to Mount Sinai. Incidentally, Sinai is a combination of two words. It's Sin, which is the ancient Sumerian word for moon god, and Ai means mountain. So it was the mountain of the moon god, because they'd be in the desert, they'd see this giant, this volcano, this mountain, and the moon would come up behind it. So they assumed that's where it came from. So that's why it's called Mount Sinai. So Moses goes up there, and he comes down, and he sees them worshiping a golden calf. So either, what's more likely? They escaped Egypt, you know, with nothing in their backs. They wandered the desert. And suddenly Moses goes away, and then they find all this gold, and they build this enormous statue. They find welding equipment in the desert, and then they build this giant statue. Or it's a metaphor, okay?
That's right, yeah.
The calf is the bull, or Taurus, and the sun is golden. They're worshiping the sun in Taurus, okay? Which is basically when the sun is worshipped in Taurus, that was the ancient Egyptian time. This is the Jewish time now. They're the people of Aries. That's why Moses gets mad. So he breaks the commandments, becoming the first lawbreaker because he broke the law. Now, if you go to the next slide, the ancient Egyptians used to worship the sun in Taurus. Hieroglyphs of the bull with the sun between its horns. The Jews are the people of Aries. That's why they blow the ram's horn to the sky on the holidays. Christians are the people of Pisces. That's why they have the Jesus fish, as shown below, that I've highlighted here. Okay? And it's also why he feeds the masses with 2 fishes. John 21. So Simon Peter climbed back into the boat and dragged the net ashore. It was full of large fish, 153. But even with so many, the net was not torn. This is a famous passage. Okay? That's the Vesica Pisces. That red thing, the Jesus fish, it's called the Vesica Pisces.
Right.
Okay? Do you know what its mathematical equation is?
No.
It's 247 over 153. The ancients knew this. They encoded this. This was hidden information to be kept away from the masses, because that's what they do. Yeah. So if you go to the next one, Genesis 32:30, and Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, for I have seen God face to face. Well, Peniel becomes pineal over time. If you look at the eye of Horus on the left, you look at a sagittal cut of the human brain on the right, that little nipple in the middle on the right, that's the pineal gland. Okay, that thing above it that looks like an eyebrow is the corpus callosum. It's identical to what the ancients knew. The ancients knew this science. I don't know how they knew this, but they knew this, and it was encoded in here. Now, in many Buddhist traditions, 49 days is the total mourning period, with prayers conducted every 7 days across 7 weeks. These Buddhists believe that rebirth takes place within 49 days after death. And it just so happens that the pineal gland becomes visible on the 49th day of gestation. Now, how would the ancients know that? How would ancient Buddhists know that? There's a lot of stuff that we don't know that they knew. You know, now if you go to the next slide, this is a picture of what we call Solomon's temple.
Yep.
Okay. Now, I have the cubits at the bottom. This is how it looks. Now, this is an overhead view of it. Okay. But Solomon is not actually the name of a king. He didn't exist. Solomon's a combination of 3 words for the sun, because every story in the Bible is a different variation of the hero's journey, the son going through the 12 signs, dying, and then reborn. You have Jonah in the belly of a great fish, Pisces, for 3 days, dead for 3 days, comes back to life. You have,
is that where the saying fish smell after 3 days?
Possibly.
I wonder. You know how they guess are like fish, they smell after 3 days.
Right.
I'm just okay.
And then you have the story of Daniel and the lion's den. Well, Daniel is the man, that's the sign Aquarius, and the lion or Leo. Okay, those are opposing signs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is all astrology. Now, Solomon is a combination of 3 ancient words: Sol, which means sun in Latin; Om, which is Om, that's the Buddhist word for sun. Okay, and On, O-N, is the Greek city of light, Heliopolis. Okay, the Greek city of light, Heliopolis. It's why when you go into a bedroom, you have to turn the lights on in order to become enlightened. Still, it goes back to that city of light. Okay, now if you go to the next slide.
Like, I need 2 days with you at least.
So this was created using sex magic. Okay, look at this right now, this overhead view. You're not going to be able to look at it the same way. Yakin and Boaz on the right, okay, those circles, they represent the testicles. The porch represents the base. The holy place is the shaft. The holy of holies is the head. The store chambers is the uterus. And those little areas where they can walk in there, that's where the ovaries drop the egg. This is literally a penis and a vagina. Okay, this is made with sex magic.
That's very interesting. You're right. I'm never going to look at this the same again.
Never.
That's right.
Never. Forever. PTSD on this one.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. Wow. If you think about it, what is the Jewish Star of David? It's this.
That's right.
It represents the phallus.
That's right.
And this represents the chalice. You put them together, it's a hermaphrodite. It's the male joining female. That's what the Star of David is. So if you go to the next one.
Thomas needs a month. I'm with you, Thomas. This is amazing.
Samson and Delilah. Okay. If you notice that Samson and the sun have the same derivatives. So you have Samson, okay, which in Hebrew, I wrote it down there too, because I can read Hebrew too. It's Samson, its root, it says the sun. Samson literally means little sun. Okay. Under sun is the word shamash. Okay. The shamash means the sun. Okay. Have you ever seen the Hanukkah candles? You know that there's one in the front and then there's 8 in the back, and then you light the first one and then it lights the rest. The one that you light in the front is called the shamash. It's supposed to represent the sun enlightening everything else. Okay. So basically, Delilah, the root word of Delilah is Lila, and Lila means night. So this is the story of the night beating the sun. Okay. So basically what happens, Delilah cuts Samson's hair, which takes away his power, and he ends up with his eyes gorged out and blind. It's just the story of the sun and how it goes away at night, and people end up blind. It's the eternal battle between the sun and night, or Set from ancient Egyptians. This is why we have a sunset, because of the ancient god Set. Now, if you go to the next slide, we're almost done.
No, that's okay. Don't
are
rush.
You kidding me? You could go on forever.
We've got 45 minutes. You're good.
There's a town in Israel called Megiddo, which is a 3rd century church, which was founded under another church. It's one of the oldest churches known to man. In the center of the floor of the mosaic is the 2 fish Pisces. They knew Jesus was Pisces. They knew this. Okay. Megiddo is also the root word of Armageddon. Okay, which is where the war on earth and the rapture is supposed to begin.
That's right.
This is the oldest church they found in Israel. Okay, it's from the 200, and their big mosaic in the middle was Pisces that I show you right there. Now, if you go to the next slide, this is the Roman Catholic Catechism 2116. All forms of divination. All forms of divination are to be rejected. Recourse to Satan or demons, conjuring up the dead, or other practices falsely supposed to unveil the future. Consulting horoscopes, astrology, palm reading, interpretation of omens and lots, the phenomena of clairvoyance, and recourse to mediums all conceal a desire for power over time, history, and in the last analysis, other human beings, as well as a wish to conciliate hidden powers. They contradict the honor, respect, and loving fear that we owe to God alone. So let me ask you a question. This is the Roman Catholic Catechism. This is one of their decrees. You guys can't deny that there's astrology in the Bible anymore.
Absolutely not.
Okay. So why would the church go out there and try and convince you that astrology is evil?
Because they don't want you to know it. They want to keep their under their thumb. They don't want you to know all of this.
Yep.
But yet they show you symbolism. When you're in the age of Pisces, you notice that the hat that the priests wear, how it's shaped like
Yeah.
the of a fish's head.
Yeah, that goes back to Dagon and Mithra worship.
There you go.
Yeah. In fact, the Pope's hat is actually known as the mitre. Okay, and mitre comes from Mithra.
There you go.
Okay, if you've ever, and for people who don't know what we're talking about, Google Pope's hat fish head.
Oh,
You
yeah.
literally
It's wild.
his corona, his hat that he wears, that big white thing. You often you turn it to the side, it looks like a fish with an eyeball.
Yeah,
That's
Corona is Italian
In the mouth.
crown.
Yeah, I didn't mean corona. I'm just
No, but I love that you say that because the Italians believe that he is crowned. Zachman said it would undermine the supremacy of the church. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I always thought a lot of the stuff that you told us about, you know, with the planting and the harvesting and the wine and the olives. This is all stuff that my family did. I always just thought it was an Italian thing. I didn't realize that
You have
was
no idea how
something-
far back it goes. This is
No,
ancient.
I need your books. I'm not lying when I say that. I want to learn more. It's like you're giving me a connection with my mom, believe it or not.
I really appreciate hearing that. Okay, I love hearing that.
You.
So now I'm going to show you how this stuff is encoded in modern day stuff.
Okay.
Okay, so go to the next slide. The Phoenix Suns. The Phoenix is the story of Christ the Sun. This is a basketball team, in case you guys don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Christ is the sun, a flaming form of life that dies and rises from its ashes. Jesus was the sun who died for 3 days and came back to life. That's why Phoenix team is the Suns. So what about the women's Phoenix team? So go to the next one. The Phoenix Mercury. Mercury is the ruling planet of Virgo, the only woman sign. That's why the woman Phoenix team is the Mercury. So how else are they encoded? So go to the next slide. 1990s movies Face Off, starring Nicolas Cage and John Travolta. Okay. Did either of you two see this?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Eons
Several
ago.
times.
But yeah.
Okay. So Nicolas Cage's character's name is Castor Troy, and his brother is Pollux Troy in the movie. That's literally the names of Gemini. Okay. What about Travolta? His name is Sean Archer, and that's the guy with the bow and the arrow, the Archer.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Those are opposing signs in the zodiac. So they encode this. There's people in Hollywood that encode this. There's people in sports that know this. Go to the next slide. Remember this video, Cranberry Zombie?
Yep.
Okay. 1990 song video for Cranberry Zombie. Here Dolores O'Riordan is painted gold like the sun, and her head dressing represents the rays of the sun, much like Jesus in the crown of thorns. But is it that? What's the very next slide? Look at that. It's the golden sun on the cross. And look at the little Sagittarius is at the bottom with the arrow ready to kill her. You see how this occult symbolism metaphors?
Oh,
Those
yeah.
two?
There's all kinds of it.
All right,
There's
then
all
one more
kinds of it.
slide. If we go to the next slide, it's important to know homosexuality in the Bible because this is very misleading. Everyone knows about Leviticus 18:22. However, is it really what it said there? The Greek word arsenokotai shows up in 2 different versions of the Bible in Greek, but was not translated to mean homosexual until 1946. In the 1800s, the German Bible said, "Man shall not lie with young boys as he does with the woman, for it is an abomination." Leviticus 18:22, same with Leviticus 20:13, young boys. 1 Corinthians, the word arsenokotai, and it's important to mention that the Bible was written in Hebrew, but everyone at the time knew that if you were a true intellect, you wrote and read in Greek. So 1 Corinthians become boy molesters will not inherit the kingdom of God. If you were to grab a copy of Martin Luther's original German translation from 1534, they use the word Nabenschander. Naben is a boy, Schander is molester. The first time homosexual appears in German translation is in 1983.
Wow.
Okay, so for all the talk about anti-LGBT or whatever, you can have your own thoughts on that. That's fine. This is the truth on this. Okay, and if you go to the next and last slide, this is just a picture of my first book, which is on Amazon, Into the Rabbit Hole. All 5 of 6 of them are on Amazon. You can just search my name and pick them up. I also, if you guys want to reach out to me, I'm on social media. I'm on Twitter at Real Mr. Dank. I'm on Facebook and Instagram at Micah Dank. You know, if you friend me, I have a Facebook group, Micah Dank Into the Rabbit Hole. If you reach out to me, I think Michelle, we just friended today. If you reach out to me, you know, I sell signed copies. I sell
Okay.
hundreds and hundreds of signed copies
Nice.
from the house. But anyway, that's my presentation. So what do you guys think?
Wow,
Wow.
I think it's fascinating for sure. But
I need
I
you
mean,
to
I've studied some of this stuff, and I'm completely on board with you. You know, the symbolism. I mean, if you think about it, there are people who have said to me, "Do you think that we'll go with Catholicism, you know, because Christianity, there's different branches of that. Goes, do you think it's opposite of what they teach us? You know,
Well,
like
it's a psyop. It's a psyop on a psyop. I believe truly that the Antichrist is literal Christianity. Reading the book literally.
Okay, okay,
I believe they knew what they were encoding, and the Antichrist is literally taking the story literally.
okay.
I'm
Here's
gonna move this outside. You guys don't care if I have a cigarette, do you?
no, we're not allowed to. You
No.
absolutely can. Yeah. So Zachman says, so Leviticus originally condemns pedophilia instead of homosexuality. I agree with that. How did it get twisted into translation over time?
How do you get what?
Twisted into translation over time.
I mean, at the
Yeah.
time,
I'll put it up for you. There it goes.
you got to understand there was a lot of pedophilia going on. The Greeks were famous for. The Greeks were very famous for what they would do. Is you had a wife for your children, but you had a sexual older man, you know, that would teach you the things. You slap horns, and then you'd talk about psychology and stuff like that. There was a lot of reasonable expectation for people not to what's the word? Basically, people had a lot to lose if they put molester in the Bible. Okay, so basically, this was changed over time. Yeah, pedophilia has been around forever. Absolutely.
Well, yeah.
Even more so now. But basically, the idea is if you keep everybody focused on homosexuality instead of pedophilia, you can get away with a lot. I mean, look at what the Catholic Church has been dealing with their scandals forever. You know, remember when Sinead O'Connor ripped the picture of the Pope? The anniversary is today.
You know, some people believe that the way some religions portray, like, you know, prayer, and with all the, I mean, they deviate from a lot of what I think their intention and the content. It's like an oxymoron, you know, like, are we feeding dark energies, for example, by the type of prayers? You look at the Vatican, you just look at the new center that they built. If you look at it from above, it's the head of a serpent. However, a lot of people misinterpret that because the serpent actually is knowledge. 666 technically means knowledge.
666 is this. It's a sign of man. It's a sign of the beast. It's a sign of man. 666.
Yes, but it's also knowledge. If you really look into it, it means in the ancient time, pre-Catholicism, it was knowledge. So,
you know what else?
Where did it get bastardized along the way? Do you know what I mean?
What else it is too? 666 is also it's man. We're carbon-based creatures. Carbon.
That's right. Yeah.
6 sign, 6 protons, 6 electrons, 6 neutrons. You know, the ancients knew this stuff. Yeah. So basically, how did it get bastardized? Because the further we go away from it, and the more people take it literally, is what happens. See, back in the day, back before 325 AD, when Constantine united every single religion under Christianity, literal Christianity, and the Crusades came, of course, and everything. Original Christians were known as Heliognostics, and that's a Greek word. Helios means sun, and Gnosis means knowers. They were sun worshippers. You know, they're basically modern day Christians are pagans, and they don't even know it.
Oh, they adopted all kinds of paganisms. They took bits and pieces from every culture that they amalgamated into their own. You know, like, it's all there. People observe. It's like people see, but they don't. They look, but they don't see.
It is, and they don't even realize, like Lucifer and Satan. If you want to talk about Satan, Satan is a Hebrew word, hashatan. Okay, Satan literally means adversary. Okay, so two basketball teams playing each other are just Satans to one another. That's all Satan means.
Right.
Satan's not even a red devil with a pitchfork and a pointy tail. The earliest pictures of Satan, he was actually blue in the 900s. He wasn't even red.
That is actually true.
Yeah, he was actually
I've
blue in the
actually seen
900s.
that now.
Yeah.
Can we stop for 1 second to do a station ID?
Yeah.
And
Oh my
a sponsor
gosh, I
ID?
already
Yeah, I know.
forgot.
we're gonna
I'm
get
so
we're gonna get
deep
hand slapped.
into Micah. This
I know.
is crazy.
It's so good. We're just like, yeah.
Oh wow.
yeah, wait, the duty.
We have to talk about classes. You're listening to The Outer Realm with Michelle Desrochers and myself, Amelia Pisano. And our special guest tonight is Micah T. Dank. And if you missed it up until now, just wait for the end. Wait for the archive to come up and catch it from the beginning, because you don't want to miss anything. You will be lost. Let me guarantee you're going to watch this episode a few times. We are live from the beautiful city of New Orleans, live on 105.3 FM. And streaming for you on UFO Paranormal Radio, International Public Radio, UFO Gods and Extraterrestrials, UPRN Talk Radio. Joe, I'm done. I'm done. Stop opening these channels. We are sponsored tonight. Our intro and our outro are from Justin Snicker. Sorry, I didn't have my glass. I don't have my glasses. They're on my stupid head. Dr. Snick and the Sonic Surgeon. He is phenomenal. Just Google him. You'll find him on any streaming platforms. He is the reason why we have an amazing intro and outro, and that's his voice that you're hearing, and he's award-winning too. We're also fully sponsored by the great folks at Folgers Coffee. Thank you, Folgers. Thank you, Dr. Snick, the Sonic Surgeon.
There we go. All right, you're on. So here we go. Here's another comment.
Micah's research has got me hooked. I'm hungry for more knowledge. Me too, Zach. Me too. Seriously. Like, I want to read the Bible again. I want to read your books. I'm just thirsty for this knowledge. And when you were talking about the heart outside of Jesus,
right,
and the whole symbolism, my mother used to call it la vida sana, which just meant healthy life.
Healthy life, yeah.
Yeah. That's all that it meant.
Field. You can measure it. You can actually measure it.
That's crazy. I always thought that was a psychic thing too. Being a medium, I've lost a lot of friends who are Roman Catholics, so I'm quite understanding of that whole thing. Thomas Rivers says pedophilia is still embraced by those in the highest positions of power. Yes. Yeah,
that's how they get there.
That's absolutely true.
That's how they get there, at the highest position of power. They have to. What they do is they have to do an act of pedophilia, and it has to be filmed, so they have it on them just in case. You know, it's what they do. No, not really. It's just
no, but I wonder how snuff films fit into that. I did this one case once with missing person, not a child at the time, and it led to a missing child, which led to pedophilia in power that I'm not allowed to discuss, which led to a snuff film. I'm just curious now that you say that.
Another Nicolas Cage movie in the 90s called 8 mm.
Yeah, 8 mm. Yeah, that's hard to watch as a parent though. Yeah. It was a different viewing back then than it is now for me having a daughter. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, I think if people, I mean, the information is all out there. You just have to really know how to dig.
So I was telling you guys about Lucifer.
Yes,
Lucifer is not actually Satan. Lucifer is known as the light bringer. And in Genesis 1:3, God says, "Let there be light." How's there going to be light without the light bringer? So Lucifer is immediately mentioned in the Bible, if not by name, but by action. And Lucifer in Luke 22:16, I think, don't quote, or 22:10. No, I forget what it is, but he basically says, well, Jesus says, "I am the bright shining morning star." Okay. Lucifer is the morning star. Okay. Lucifer is Venus. Do you know why Lucifer is Venus? He's the light bringer. Do you know why? Because if you look outside in the back, well, you can't see it right now in the back. Basically, when the sun comes up,
right.
Okay. Right before the sun comes up, if you go outside and look at it, you could do it tomorrow morning. Come outside, look at the sun as it's like crowning and as it's starting to rise. You'll see a bright pinpoint light above it. That's Venus. It announces the arrival of God's sun. Okay. Lucifer does that. And Lucifer, is known as the morning star. Now, the other thing is too is Lucifer has a pentagram that people have inverted and people have perverted. Okay, the pentagram. If you take Venus that I just mentioned, and you take Earth, and you circumvent it around the sun in the course of a year, they're almost connected 5 points. You connect those 5 points, you get the pentagram. That's Lucifer's pentagram. It's all astrology.
Mm-hmm. That's true. That's true. That is a taboo. I think, there's so much that is ingrained into people almost like school age at birth, going through the different rituals, baptism. Yeah, it makes perfect sense. You understand it's a part of astrology. But where do we get into the others? Communion, confession, right?
It's all they've monetized sin.
And it goes up.
That's all they've done. They've monetized sin.
That's all Catholic catechism.
That's Catholic, yeah.
They have you coming in. They have you coming in and confessing your crimes to a priest.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they have you doing.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't know. I think. Hold on, Dolly. Is that supposed to say initiation? Is that what that's supposed to be? Oh, into slavery. Okay, initiation.
That's another show.
So Amelia can read. So you don't have to squint. I'll just put it up here for you. Yeah, there's a lot of people out there, I think, who have tried to break through that symbolism and get people to understand. Why do you think, like, we're so conditioned, why do you think it's so difficult for people to look at the obvious? Because this, to me, it's in the Bible.
I'll tell you why. You know why? I'll explain it to you why. Is because ever since you're conscious, okay, and you can think for yourself, okay, and you're self-aware,
mm-hmm.
you're aware of your own existence, okay? Mm-hmm. You were not aware of your existence prior to being here.
Mm-hmm.
You're aware of your existence here. Your biggest fear on earth will always be to not exist in any form anymore. And that's what religion does. Religion gives you these easy answers that tells you just do this, fall in line, and do this, and you'll go to heaven, and you'll go and you'll be in ecstasy forever. It's nice, neat, wrapped up, and people swallow it. That's why.
Okay, so what's your take on when people say heaven, hell, above, below, as above?
Well, I think that string theory is only now string theory and M theory and quantum physics is talking about 11 dimensions. I think there's just different dimensions, and I think we can access them. I think we access them through the use of like DMT, hallucinogens, for example, where you get to basically see a peek of the afterlife. Why do so many people have the same near-death experience? Why do so many people have the same experience when they're on DMT? They see the gnomes or they see this,
it's true. Yeah. Gnomes, yeah. Not a fan of gnomes, just saying. But
I've never touched that stuff, so I don't know much about it.
Well, mushrooms, I guess, is another, ayahuasca. Yeah.
Well, manna, that's what manna is in the Bible, manna.
Because is that ayahuasca?
No, the word manna means what's this in Hebrew.
Okay.
So the Jews walk around, they'd see little white round things, because that's what they were called, little white round things, and they'd go, manna, what's this? They'd eat it, and they'd be able to talk to God. It's just a psilocybin mushroom. That's what they were doing.
They're just giving them all psychedelics, basically.
Yeah, that's what it was. There's so much psychedelics in the Bible.
Yeah, no, it's true.
Yeah.
Thomas, meditation opens the door to a whole level of conscious. Yeah, but awareness. Yeah, but some people. So Buddhist monks meditate for that one split second of enlightenment that changes their world. Some people just cheat and just do DMT because they don't have that kind of time.
Right.
So that's basically what it is.
Yeah, but I mean, from what I understand, because it was explained to me once how to, people who were doing DMT, it's like it really messes you up at first. Like you feel I don't like.
Yeah, it's an ego death.
Not having control over my head, my thoughts, my body.
It dissolves you.
Yeah, as a medium and you take one of those mushrooms, you're gonna flip and see all kinds of stuff. Like that's just a whole other. Right. It's already that way for us. Where we have to shut off all these, we have to put up, if it's easier for people to understand, like these veils so that we're not seeing, speaking, hearing, and talking with this constantly.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I can't imagine what it's like. I would like to ask a medium who uses mushrooms and see what their experience is like, because I don't understand it. I really
Well,
don't.
I mean, it's
It
like
would drive me
anything.
crazy.
I can have a couple glasses of wine, for instance, and my abilities will kind of go. I think the more relaxed you are, the more there's no inhibitions. There's nothing. I think that's
Yeah, but the more
Well,
I'm
anchoring you.
forward to anything going wrong.
Alcohol lowers your vibrations, where things like marijuana, DMT, everything raises your vibrations. Alcohol lowers your vibration. That's why you start to drink, and then you start to think of the basics: food, sex, sleep.
Yes,
You know,
right.
it brings you back down to your reptilian brain.
Yeah. Archonic way of thinking and existing. And so your theory then that we live in a matrix, that we're sort of controlled.
There's a great book called The Holographic Universe. It's by Michael
Right.
Talbot. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but it's a fantastic book.
Right.
Yeah, it talks a lot about it. Yeah.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on it? Knowing what you know. I mean, obviously, the powers that be physically on this planet, some believe they may or may not be, in cahoots or ruled by interdimensional beings or beings from.
I don't know how I feel about interdimensional beings, to be honest with you.
Really? Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that. No,
Because you're so you are so into astrology and everything around it. I mean, that's pretty. There's got to be more than just what's here.
No, I agree. In different dimensions, yeah, there could be others, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think what happens is when we die, we go to the appropriate level that for the lessons we've learned on Earth and how we've lived our life, we go to the appropriate level, and then we're either reborn here to relearn them. But there's things talking about. So time is not a fixed construct. You have to understand that. Okay?
No, it really doesn't exist, does it?
Time doesn't exist
to a clock.
Right.
Yeah.
So think about this for a second. Your next life, Michelle, you could be your next life when you're reborn. It could be in the year 900 AD, and you could be like a peasant boy. It doesn't have to mean that you're going to be born in the future.
No, you can come back and forth. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I believe that. Yeah. What's this here? Astrology creates the Earth matrix specific to Earth. Thoughts?
Not really sure what he means about the Earth matrix. Is he talking about?
I don't understand that either.
Is he talking about the ley lines? Is he talking about the grid over Earth where all the pyramids are on?
Time is linear. Yeah, Dave, can you elaborate on that a little bit, please? On the Earth matrix.
Yeah. But if you're talking about things like, for example, you want to talk about things that were perverted, the idea of hell. The idea of hell is perverted. Now, from what I've just told you, it's everything that happens on Earth, right? In astrology, as above, so below, right? Okay. Let me ask you a question. When you die, okay? Well, let me ask you a better question. What part of your body senses pain?
Everything is in the mind.
Right. But would you say nerve endings?
Well, nerve endings in your skin, yeah.
That's in this, yeah.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. When you die and you shed your body and you have no more nerve endings and your brain is gone, how are you going to feel pain? There's no flaming infernal hell, okay?
No.
Hell is not actually hot. Hell is winter, okay? Hell is winter on Earth. The animals come out. The animals used to come out. They would come out scrounging for food. It would be cold. People get sick more often, okay? Right? Amelia, what's the Italian word for winter?
Oh my God. What the hell? You just like seriously threw
Don't
me.
look at me. I'm not Italian.
Inverno.
Inverno. Okay, that's where the word inferno comes from.
Inferno. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Inverno comes from inferno.
Latin.
And inferno is the flaming place of hell. That's what's been perverted. Inverno is actually hell. It's winter. People get sick.
Inverno.
There's no crops. There's snow everywhere. The sun is dead. Or
there's a lot of death. And disease.
There's a lot of death.
Do you think that maybe this is it? The planet, this time, this space, there's so much suffering, there's so much control.
But there's a lot of love too. You got to understand is you could tune it out.
The balance.
We could easily get off Facebook, the news, Twitter, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Thought you'd like to see that one. Micah speaks the language of truth. I love it.
I love it.
Thomas is
Yeah.
a good friend.
Yeah.
I love
So,
him. He's an incredible writer.
No, it's I don't know, what would you like to your goal in all of this? Obviously is to reach
Well,
people.
right now I have a 6-book deal, and I have a publicist that she reached out to you.
Yes.
Right? You know Michelle, she's wonderful.
Yes, she is.
She's wonderful. And without giving anything away, we're trying to turn my 6-book series, or we're going to turn it into a TV series or a movie series. So what we're doing is we pitched it to one guy already, okay? And it blew his mind, the books. You think I go into things deep here? Wait till you see the books. I go into more philosophy, more esoteric stuff. I decode things. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I would watch that series in a heartbeat, and I'd want to own it because I'm a visual learner. For me,
which is why I wanted to see. Now, aren't you glad? Aren't you glad that I did the PowerPoint?
Absolutely.
I like PowerPoint presentations. I do enjoy them.
Yeah.
You know, especially when they're well done.
Right.
Yeah.
But,
also, the year opens up in Aries, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's the Italian word for open?
Aperto. Yeah.
Apri.
No, apri is that's French. That's not Italian.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
No, I'm pretty sure apri is Italian.
Apri. Oh, yeah. Sorry, I'm giving you dialect.
Oh, it's not French.
I'm
I know
speaking
it.
dialect, and no, because I'm.
My wife is from Puglia. Okay, so all she does is
from
speak
Puglia,
dialect.
but see, we have dialects. She's right next to me. I'm from Calabria, and the
yeah.
dialects are different. So it throws me when you're
Right, but apri means to open. Okay, that's where
Yeah.
April comes from. April is Aries. It opens up the year. That's where that comes from.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely definitely a dialect slang too, though. But yeah, I understand that.
So you get this into
Even Dante. In you had to have read Alighieri, the Divine Comedy, no?
No, I didn't, but my nephew's named after him. No, I didn't. I actually went to the Da Vinci exhibit in high school because I did Italian immersion classes, and I actually got to see that through a different culture. You know,
Well,
the experience was different.
Dante knew that hell was cold. You know how he knew hell was cold? In the bottom level, he put Satan. Satan has 3 heads. Satan's chewing on 3 people. He's chewing on Brutus and Cassius. Their faces are heading out, and he's chewing on them. Who killed Caesar? And he's chewing on Judas Iscariot backwards, where Judas is like head into him. Okay? So he's got 3 heads, he's chewing on them. He is frozen in a lake of ice because his wings are beating so hard that every time it tries to thaw, it just stays frozen. Dante knew hell was winter. Inverno. That's hell. Hell is winter. Hell is not a flaming place where your body with no brain and no nerve endings goes to burn. That doesn't even make sense.
Mm-hmm. So
where did the concept of hell come from?
Originally?
Yeah,
it was invented.
We have this concept of fire.
Well, hell, I don't know where the concept of fire comes from, but the Greeks had it too. Hades. You're talking about
mythology.
You're talking about Chiron with the gold coins, taking them across the river Styx.
Mm-hmm.
Center of Earth can also be construed as hell, possibly, if you believe in the hollow Earth theory.
Your belief system,
Sure.
Yeah.
If you believe in the hollow Earth theory.
Yeah, absolutely. The Earth star, yeah. There we go. That's all it says. Our planet freezes over. That would be hell for sure then.
Now, it's important for you guys to understand, or for you ladies to understand, and everyone else to understand. Everything that I told you about today only works in the Northern Hemisphere. It's backwards in the Southern Hemisphere. Okay? Because if you think about it, it's October right now, so it's kind of like fall.
That's right.
It's spring in Australia.
That's true.
It is.
Okay? So you have to understand the reason this science was done this way, okay, instead of from the South, is because if you look at the Egyptians, the Jews, and the Christians, okay, if you look at them, they all come from the Northern Hemisphere.
Mm-hmm.
That's where all this stuff comes from. Okay, Egypt is in the top of Africa. Okay, you know where Israel is.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically where it is. Israel, incidentally, is just a combination of 3 words. for Egyptian gods. It's Isis, Is, Ra, and El. So everything comes back to Egypt, basically. But every time they basically just boil it down. Now, let me throw you this conspiracy theory out there. I mentioned before that Taurus, the age of Taurus, that was the Egyptians with the bull worship, the sun with the horns between its head. Then the Egyptians fade, the people fade. Then the Jews come along, and they're the prevalent people. They write a Bible. They're the people of Aries. They blow the ram's horn. Then they start to fade. Then the Christians come up in the age of Pisces.
That's right.
Okay. And the Christians come up, and then suddenly, everything is two fish, and it's always the fish, the fishermen, And, now we're in the age of Aquarius. So we're very young in the age of Aquarius. We're only about 9 years into it.
And doesn't it go like 2,000 years or 2,600 years, something like that?
It's 2160.
2160,
which makes 25,920 the great year after you go through everything. But basically, we're in the age of Aquarius right now. Okay, so the Christian, I love Santos. Love Santos. I used to throw him my early work. I'd email him my early work. He's one of the ones that I learned from before I started doing my own work.
Very nice.
But so we're in the age of Aquarius right now. It's very young to tell.
Right.
But if everything follows suit, the Christians are going to start to fade, and then a new religion is going to come up, and it's the sign of the man. And I think it's going to be transhumanism. It's going to be merging with machines. That's going to be the new religion.
Well, just look at technology right now. AI is a really big research. I mean, they're successfully, they're successfully doing things. There's talk about, hooking computers up to our brain, or vice versa. Like this is all prevalent. I mean, I think right now Google is going to have its first grocery store that's going to be all AI.
Right.
Checking you out. So there we go.
Well, they already have Whole Foods in New York is already opening 2 stores in the New York.
Only AI. They own that. Yeah.
They have that already.
Yeah.
In a pilot store. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what I mean. That came out in the news just about a month or two ago. It's like, so it is beginning. So you could be right on that.
Yeah, I think so. I think we're too young to see, but if you follow the patterns,
right.
You're already starting to see pushback against Christianity.
Yeah, Alexa's already in BMW for the year. Just saying, they just came out with the cars. They have it already. The X3 for the BMW has Alexa. It's a selling feature, which I think is insane, but we won't go there.
Right.
So no, that's possible. That's possible. Cowdy did that one. Here we go. You're bright, bro.
All these people that are commenting, I want you all to reach out to me on social media.
There you go. Age of the Machine, Aquarius. There we go. He also studies astrology and works in astrology, Dave. Yeah, so there you go. It very well may be. Dolly says here. Oh, that's not Dolly. Hold on, Dolly. Where'd you go?
I've just gone through 10 different ways in my head to say open in Italian. Thanks, Micah. Seriously. I'm like, aprilo, aprire, aprire. Like, holy crap. Because of the slangs. That's why.
You know what else is interesting, too? This I heard from, I forget where I heard this from. But basically, the story of Pinocchio is basically a metaphor for the same thing that we're talking about. Because you have pine, which means pineal, and Amelia, what does occhio mean?
Eye. Yeah.
Eye. Eye.
Yeah, I have one of the original dolls from Italy of Pinocchio. One of way back originals.
It's the eye.
Yeah.
It's the eye. It's the pineal gland.
Yeah. I heard
it's
that
all
story
about becoming a real boy, becoming a real boy and realizing your true self.
Yeah. I heard that from my mom. It was never a fairy tale. It was always a horror story.
Yeah.
Seriously.
But a lot of those of the, let's say, Disney stuff was actually loaded with codes.
Can I just say how much fun I've had with you both tonight?
Oh, thanks.
God,
ditto. I told you it's laid back. Yeah.
I've never felt so stupid before in my life, but in a good way. Because I can't believe how much I learned from you. Like, that's why I said to you, do you offer classes? I would literally take a course in a heartbeat. from you.
What I can
I'm
do
thinking
is
of other people you need to be on their shows. Like, it's going through my head right now,
what I can
particularly
do.
Bishop James.
What I would like to do. You guys are familiar with the Book of Enoch?
Of course.
Michelle is. I'm
Very
not.
first abductee, in my opinion.
Okay, so how about this? You can reach out to me direct, and then whenever you have some open time, I'll come do another show with you. We'll do the Book of Revelation, and we'll do Enoch.
Okay, I'll
You know
read
what?
it.
I say we'll do it. How about I will message you and we'll bring you back on in December.
I like it.
Oh, for
I like
Christmas.
it too. I
You
love the
piss
Book
off
of
all the
Enoch.
Catholics.
Oh yeah. Okay.
How is
Everybody in
the
chat, are we all
good,
up for this?
Micah?
Yeah.
A lot of
Pardon?
angry people. A lot of angry people in the chat.
Angry
No,
people?
you have a
No,
lot of
everybody's happy.
supporters in the
Yeah, this is
chat.
great.
You
No,
have
our
a
people
lot
are
of
never
supporters.
angry. Are you kidding? The only time we had an angry mob is when we had the flat Earth guy
Flat
on
Earth
here,
guy.
and I think
David
they
White.
thought we were going to attack them. And when they realized how laid
know
back and how
him?
much fun we had a boatload of freaking fun. All of
You
us.
had,
It was
you had David Weiss.
Yeah, we
it was
had
great.
over 78 people writing at the same time, and it was 78, 80 something at one point. Joseph,
Oh yeah.
I have a small laptop going here. I couldn't keep up with it.
No,
And
it was
driving me
hilarious.
crazy.
We
I
had
think
so much fun, honestly.
okay, he was a lot of fun. It was we're always open. We always try to be as
learning too,
respectful
right?
as possible. I respect everybody's opinions. Doesn't mean I agree with everything, but I do respect everyone. And
hold on.
I think he's so used to being bashed that he was a little defensive at first.
It's true, but he realized that he had a
his
good
followers
time.
were taking chunks out
This is
of
the
us.
best
Oh my
show
gosh.
ever. You guys are amazing. We're just like, whatever. We went from being like red-haired witches to the best show on the entire planet.
Yeah.
Flat Earth
we were getting the angry mob throwing rocks from the crowd. That's what we were.
I'll have to add him to my social media. Just a warning. I have an interesting sense of humor. You know how to find him, man. There you go.
I'll tell you guys. I'll tell you guys one more time.
Yeah.
I'm on Twitter at Real Mr. Dank. I'm on Facebook at Micah Dank.
Yeah.
I have a Instagram at Micah Dank.
Yep.
Just reach out to me if you guys are interested in the books. Listen, my 6th book is coming out in a week. I have the whole series. I have so many author copies at home. I'll sign them. I'll mail them to you. We'll work something out with PayPal and Venmo. I send hundreds of copies out of my house.
Oh, fantastic.
So
I love it.
I'll definitely get in touch with you because I do want to read them. I'm joining all your groups now.
There we go.
The rabbit hole, the rabbit hole, the rabbit hole.
There you go.
Are they all yours, Micah?
No, it's Micah Dank into the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Okay.
Christian educated turned Buddhist, a man of heart and vibrational energy. There we go. And you are welcome, Dolly. Absolutely. Well, this is the time where we have to say goodbye already. The show's already over. I can't even believe it. We're almost at the 11 o'clock mark. But we will do it again. I will definitely contact you. We will, go over some dates. And then you can.
I'm just giving you a heads up. The Book of Enoch and the Book of Revelation, it's the same stuff.
I'm going to read the Book
I like
of Enoch
it.
because I do have it. I have it.
The interesting thing too is that I've done the Epic of Gilgamesh and I've done the Enuma Elish.
Yeah.
And I've done the Enuma Elish.
Yeah.
Those aren't even religious texts. I mean, yes, they were very important to those who wrote them at the time, but they're not even biblical texts, and they're still astrology books. This is like the code for everything. I'm telling you.
No, I'm looking so forward to it. I can't even tell you, and I hope you're going to have another really cool presentation. So I love the Book of Enoch. I do. To me, it's just, I really enjoyed reading it, and I often wonder why it was left out because it was so instrumental, like so much information. So
it's because they openly talk about astrology and everything.
Everything. I know. So we can't have that. We can't control the masses. I totally get it. I'm interested to see what you have to say. So one more time, website.
Well, the website is just kind of up. It's just kind of like if you go to my Twitter, my pinned text is all. If you go to my Twitter, my pinned text that I have up is a link, and then you click on it, and it's all the podcasts I've ever done. There's like 150, 200 of them on there.
Excellent. There we go, people. All right. Well, thank you for joining us. It was so much fun. You're just
Oh my
You're just
gosh.
so informative. I love that. So we will do it again. And I can't wait. I will be in touch with you soon. So thank you for being a wealth of information. Everybody had a good time. We'll get a lot of people listening in on Facebook as well as here on YouTube. So we're going to post the archive right after the show. So this way you'll be able to find it on the Outer Realm and share it up. And for those of you guys who miss a show or just kind of went, what? You have to catch the archive. Like Amelia said, you're going to have to listen to it a couple times. So it's going to hit over 200 different sites.
Watch it. Watch it again.
It's rare that I lose track of time and a guest asks me a question and I'm like, what? So like, really impressed. Really impressed. Definitely.
Kind of like that. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. So thank you very much for joining us tonight. And I will be in touch with you.
I will talk to you soon. Thank you so much.
All right, Micah. Thank you. Thank you.
Ciao, Bella, to your wife.
I will. Take care.
Thank you. So we have come to the end of another fantastic segment here on the Outer Realm. Holy crap, that was amazing. Yep, I just said that. And thank you, everybody who tuned in. Thanks for just lighting up all of the chats. This is like awesome. And big thank you to Micah. Just awesome. Thank you to Joe for being the best producer on the planet, for manning the fort behind the scenes. Huge thank you to Folgers for sponsoring the show. Was just so happy to have you on this journey with us. You guys are amazing. Big thank you to Dr. Snick, aka Justin Snicker, for providing us with your music and your voice. So we've got that amazing intro and outro, all thanks to you. Remember to stop by International Public Radio, UFO Paranormal Radio, UFO Gods and Extraterrestrials. Subscribe, please. And don't forget about us on the Outer Realm over on Facebook. Drop us a line anytime at the Outer Realm contact@gmail.com. Again, the Outer Realm contact@gmail.com. Tune in tomorrow night as we welcome for the very first time Dan and Kat Eckert. We're going to be discussing the occult and the paranormal. Sounds like a lot of fun. So until then, we bid you good night and see you tomorrow.
You have been listening to The Outer Realm with Michelle Desrochers and Amelia Pisano. Airing live every Wednesday and Thursday evening, 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 to 10 p.m. Central, on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM in New Orleans.